Asia Wilson 1, Nafisa Collier 2, Sabrina Ionescu 3, Brianna Stewart 4, Alyssa Thomas 5, and honorable mentions, Caitlin Clark.
Did you catch the latest WNBA bombshell? Caitlin Clark, the rookie powerhouse who's been dominating the courts and shattering records all season, has been shockingly left out of the top MVP conversation. But here's where it gets even more explosive. Asia Wilson, the current MVP, is furious. Why? Because fans and analysts are increasingly saying that Clark's incredible performance deserves the MVP title more than her. How did Clark, with her standout stats and game-changing impact, get sidelined like this? The controversy is igniting intense debates across the basketball community.
She is leading the WNBA in points generated, which means points scored and or points assisted on. She is leading the league by a significant margin, and she is doing this as a rookie with a Fever team that is not comprised of a bunch of all-stars.
Let's dive into the MVP rankings that are making big waves in the WNBA. Leading the pack is Asia Wilson, confidently holding the top spot.
There's no debating it. If you even talk about MVP, you have to be like, well, of course Asia Wilson's running away with it. Like, you cannot even have any kind of constructive conversation around MVP unless you preface it by saying, well, I already know that Asia Wilson won. Like, that's the standard.
Coming in hot at number 2 is Nafisa Collier from the Minnesota Lynx. Every time she steps onto the court, she takes full command of the game, leaving a massive impact on both her team and the opposition. Quiet yet lethal, Collier consistently asserts her dominance, making it impossible to ignore her formidable presence.
And Nafisa can take over the game at any point in time. We've seen her do this on multiple occasions.
Sabrina Ionescu is stubbornly holding on to the third spot, even though some argue she doesn't quite deserve it. Behind her, Brianna Stewart and Alyssa Thomas secure their places in the top 5. But here's the real surprise. Where is Caitlin Clark? The rookie sensation who's been setting the league ablaze with her incredible performances is completely absent from the top 5. Unbelievable, right?
Getting to the honorable mention, they have Caitlin Clark.
You might think there's been a mix-up, but nope, that's exactly how the MVP rankings stand today. Their website even spotlighted Caitlin Clark with this statement.
While the Fever underwent understandable woes in the first month of the season, Indiana is 14-6 over their last 20 games, including 2 massive wins coming out of the All-Star break. Clark has found a synergy with her teammates and elite comfort on the floor as a facilitator and creator. She's knocking on the door of first-team All-W and top 5 finish in MVP voting.
Did you hear that? Caitlin Clark is just knocking on the MVP door? Not quite. Clark isn't merely knocking, she should already have a seat at the top. In fact, Caitlin Clark undeniably deserves a spot in the top 3 MVP contenders alongside Asia Wilson and Nafisa Collier, and the numbers leave no room for doubt.
Look at their stats. Asia wipes the floor with both of them. The only categories that she doesn't have are assists, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. Caitlin has all of those. She is tied for steals with Nafisa.
Let's be honest, Asia Wilson was outstanding, no doubt. But rookie Caitlin Clark has outshined her in crucial areas like assists, free throw percentages, and 3-pointers, even setting the assist record. Clark's on-court impact is undeniable, proving she's anything but average. So why is she being overlooked? It's got everyone puzzled. Some say it's because she's a rookie and the league prefers established stars. Others argue that individual stats don't capture the whole picture. This snub hasn't gone unnoticed. The debate is heating up, with voices like Rachel Demita criticizing the WNBA's MVP selection process. Demita points out that every time Clark elevates her game, the bar for her recognition keeps rising, making it harder for her to secure the MVP title she clearly deserves. Historically, only one rookie, Candace Parker in 2008, has ever won the MVP award. It feels like there's an unwritten rule against first-year players being the most valuable. But why? Are rookies seen as too inexperienced, or is there a bias towards veterans? Clark is challenging this by excelling not just as a rookie, but across multiple facets of the game. As Skip Bayless put it, nobody in the league can flick logo threes as effortlessly as Caitlin can. Clark is now pushing A'ja Wilson for the MVP crown with her exceptional ability to control the game. While Wilson has secured back-to-back championships with a star-studded team, Clark is transforming the Indiana Fever. Before the All-Star break, the Fever were struggling with a 13-27 record. After the break, they flipped the script with a 14-6 run, thanks to Clark's leadership and stellar performances. She's not just scoring, she's elevating her entire team, leading them to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. When comparing Clark to Candace Parker, Clark is already surpassing Parker's rookie stats in assists, steals, three-pointers, and free throw percentage. Her all-around game is setting new standards, proving she's a game changer. Her impact on the Fever is clear, turning a struggling team into one of the league's hottest. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson shines on a team loaded with Team USA players and multiple All-Stars, making her achievements impressive but also supported by a strong roster. In contrast, Clark excels without the same level of star support, highlighting her individual value. The MVP debate in the WNBA is intensifying. Should the award go to the player with the best stats, the one who drives their team's success, or the one who's revolutionizing the game? Clark's season is forcing us to rethink traditional MVP criteria, blending individual excellence with transformative team impact. Caitlin Clark's rise is more than a rookie story, it's a revolution in the WNBA. As she continues to dominate and elevate her team, the question remains, is it time to break down old barriers and recognize the true value players like Clark bring to the league? The MVP conversation isn't over, and Clark is right at the center, challenging us to redefine what it means to be the most valuable player. What do you think? Should the MVP go to the player with the best stats, the one who boosts their team's success, or the one who's redefining the game?
It's been interesting because since your article dropped, I gotta say, it has got all the buzz. If you are on X, if you're on Instagram, TikTok for the young kids, you know that Caitlin Clark is the Time Athlete of the Year. How has your 24 hours been since the articles dropped?
It's been awesome, and just the reaction. Obviously, people so excited not only about women's basketball, but about women's sports, and how excited and deserving, not only myself, but just women's sports as a whole.
Caitlin Clark just became the first WNBA player to claim Time's Athlete of the Year, but not everyone is joining the celebration. It's become increasingly clear she has her share of haters, from Sheryl Swoopes, A'ja Wilson, to Nalissa Smith, Diana Taurasi, and sadly, the list doesn't end there.
Sheryl, I'll start with you. What's your reaction to Caitlin Clark winning Time Magazine Athlete of the Year?
I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were.
In a twist that's both startling and yet oddly predictable, Sheryl Swoopes, four-time WNBA champion and now Clark's most outspoken critic, had plenty to say about the athlete's recent win. In today's segment, we'll break down the controversy, examine the backlash, and uncover the unexpected way Clark is handling it all. While Clark had the perfect moment to fire back, she chose a different route, leaving everyone utterly speechless. Here's why her response is a masterclass in grace and leadership.
And I've grown up a huge women's sports fan, whether it was basketball, whether it was soccer, whether it was volleyball, you go down the list. Like, I grew up loving it and watching it, so it's pretty special. Like, it doesn't really feel real that I get to be here, but an amazing honor.
Imagine this, Caitlin Clark riding high after earning Time Athlete of the Year, yet not everyone's raising a glass. Enter Sheryl Swoopes, former WNBA superstar turned unforeseen critic, stirring up drama on the Gills Arena podcast.
The fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year is pretty special. And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which, yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that
Yeah.
she had on the game this season.
Rather than praising Clark, Swoopes launches into a full-on tirade, openly challenging the very standards used to grant Clark her title. "I'm trying to understand what the criteria is," she says, her voice laced with disbelief. And she doesn't stop there. Swoopes rattles off a list of other contenders she believes should have earned the honor instead. The whole thing feels like a slow-motion train wreck, leaving fans and analysts alike puzzled and asking what's really at play.
This is just probably just the impact of the sport, a little bit of it's a little bit of everything, right? So
Yeah, I mean, no,
when you
no
think
doubt
about,
she
when
had
you
a
just
huge
think about
impact.
athletes of this year,
Yeah.
it's her, the swimmer
What swimmer?
for Olympics,
Katie Ledecky.
her
Shout out Katie
her
Ledecky.
performance,
Shit, you
you know,
can put
in the
Simone
Olympics.
Biles back in there.
You can put her back in there. Probably LeBron from his Olympics.
As we delve further into Swoopes' remarks, a pattern starts to form. This isn't her first time taking aim at Clark. When Clark shattered the NCAA scoring record, Swoopes was quick to downplay it, questioning whether the accomplishment was all that remarkable given how much the game has evolved since the original milestone was set.
Put Asia Wilson in there.
That was just basketball.
So that's what I'm saying. Was it just the performance on the court, or
It's
everything
global.
else?
Like, I think it's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
What about Wilson? She demands, leaving everyone listening in stunned silence. Is this just a careless slip, or is there something more simmering beneath the surface? Swoopes' outburst lays bare a deeper struggle. It's not only about Clark now, it's the old guard facing off against the new era, tradition clashing with the future of women's basketball. Once the sport's leading figure, Swoopes now watches from the sidelines as Clark captivates a whole new generation of fans.
It just keeps putting a light on the sport for everybody else to eat. And, sometimes, just as athletes, we are competitive by nature. And, we don't like when someone's getting something that we don't think they deserve.
The basketball world is left stunned. Swoopes, once a beacon of inspiration for countless young athletes, including a young Caitlin Clark, now appears bitter and disconnected. Her remarks ignite intense debates online, with fans and players alike taking sides. Yet here's the ironic twist. While Swoopes questions Clark's merit, Clark's star power only intensifies. Her record-breaking performances and swelling fan base speak volumes. The contrast is glaring. One athlete clinging to the past, the other blazing a trail into the future of women's basketball.
Well, it's been a crazy year. It's hard to think about. Like, I was basically just starting my senior year of college at this time last year. And then I graduated. I missed my college graduation, got drafted here in New York City, basically moved right to Indianapolis and basically start like a whole new chapter of your life instantly, and you don't really have much time to adjust. But lucky enough, I had a really great support system and family around, and I'm from the Midwest, so didn't take me too long, but this past year has just been amazing.
How does Clark tackle this sudden wave of criticism? Does she lash out, stoking the flames? Or does she remain poised under pressure? Her approach to this conflict won't just shape her legacy, it could help reshape the entire landscape of women's basketball. Buckle up, because Clark is about to reveal the depths of her character.
It's fun to reflect back and think about all the amazing things that I was able to accomplish and the people that I got to do it with. I think that's what's made it so special is I've had my family with me the whole time, my friends, amazing teammates, amazing coaches, and it wouldn't be possible without all of them. So just really fortunate.
Remember when we said Clark was about to show us what she's made of? Well, her response to the Time Award controversy isn't just surprising, it's genuinely groundbreaking. She's redefining what leadership looks like in women's basketball. While Swoopes casts doubt, Clark continues to smash records and win over fans' hearts. How does she handle the criticism? Does she shoot back? Not at all. Clark takes the high road, and that choice has everyone talking.
The number of Indiana Fever fans I saw and young girls and the way they were lighting up, I mean, you have represented something so special for the sport, but you've drawn eyes to a game that you've always grown up loving. What does that mean to you?
You know, it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around because I'm so focused and so competitive, and I love the game. I love playing. I love being in front of the fans. But over the course of probably the last 2.5 years, it's all kind of changed where, you know, it's hard to get a ticket whether we're at home or whether we're on the road.
In her Time interview, Clark doesn't merely shrug off the controversy. She faces it head on with a level of maturity that's capturing everyone's attention. Caitlin Clark's rise to stardom has been accompanied by a refreshing sense of self-awareness.
A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has kind of been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then you continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible, I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing.
But Clark doesn't stop there. She makes a point of recognizing the legends who laid the groundwork for her success. And guess who she gives credit to? Sheryl Swoopes herself. It's a move that proves Clark isn't just an elite talent on the court. She's a class act off it as well.
Thoughts on Caitlin Clark saying she wants to use her platform to elevate black women in the WNBA have been instrumental, obviously, in building that league to what it is. Okay.
So what's the
Clark's reply? It's more than simply rising above the fray. It's a masterclass in handling criticism with grace, transforming a potentially negative moment into something uplifting. She's not just standing up for her own achievements. She's raising the bar for the entire dialogue surrounding women's basketball.
I remember my first WNBA game, one of the best memories of my childhood, and I think very influential in wanting to be a professional basketball player, wanting to be a great person, having those people to look up to and want to be like one day. So I just try to embody that every single day, and I feel like I have good perspective on, like, basketball isn't my everything. Like, yeah, I love it, and I get to do it, and it's given me a lot of really great opportunities, but at the same time, you know, win or loss, I feel like I try to be the same person.
The contrast between Clark's approach and Swoopes' remarks couldn't be more stark. While Swoopes questions and criticizes, Clark chooses to celebrate and uplift. This strategy isn't just winning her new fans, it's quieting her critics in the most impactful way possible. Don't mistake Clark's kindness for weakness, though. Her words carry real weight, and her actions speak volumes. She's showing that you don't have to tear others down to elevate yourself. In fact, by paying tribute to those who came before her, Clark is securing her own legacy in basketball history.
Know how you feel or how you respond to some of those criticisms when you have to deal with something that it's really not your problem. Like, I feel like it's them looking in a mirror a little bit,
Yeah.
but it still comes down on your shoulders.
I feel like I always have had really good perspective on everything that's kind of happened in my life, whether that's been good, whether that's been bad. And then obviously coming to the WNBA, like I've said, I feel like I've earned every single thing that's happened to me over the course of my career.
As the controversy fades, one truth stands out. Clark's handling of the situation has transformed what could have been a divisive episode into a moment of unity for women's basketball. She's demonstrated that it's possible to be both a fierce competitor on the court and a gracious leader off it. But the story doesn't end here. Clark's poised response has paved the way for a much broader conversation. How will the rest of the basketball community react to this display of sportsmanship and class? Stay tuned, because the reactions are about to roll in, and they may just surprise you.
But also, I grew up a fan of this league from a very young age. Like, my favorite player was Maya Moore. Like, I know what this league was about. And like I said, like, it's only been around 25 plus years. So I know there's been so many amazing black women that have been in this league, and continuing to uplift them, I think, is very important. And that's something I'm very aware of. And like I said, like, I try to just be real and authentic and, you know, share my truth. And I think that's very easy for me. Like, I'm very comfortable in my own skin. And that's kind of been how it is my entire life.
Clark's triumph and Swoopes' critique didn't just grab headlines. They sparked a wildfire of debate across the basketball landscape. Opinions are swirling at lightning speed, faster than one of Clark's signature three-pointers, and everyone wants their say. Let's break down the reactions. On Clark's side, a whole army of supporters has turned up. Fans are flooding social media with admiration for the rising star, applauding her poise under pressure and calling out Swoopes for what they view as a bitter backlash. As one fan tweeted, Clark's response shows she's already a legend in the making. Swoopes could learn a thing or two about sportsmanship.
And you'll never be able to make everyone happy. And someone that knows that at the age of 22, like, let's go.
I mean, I think I have good perspective on that. And like I said in the article, which turned out amazing, I thought it was great. I said, I feel like one of my best skills is just blocking things out. Like, I don't really, the only opinions I really care about are the people that I love, my teammates, my coaches, the people inside of our locker room, the people that I see every single day, and I know have my best interests at heart too.
How will all this drama shape Clark's future in the WNBA? That's the million-dollar question. Some believe the controversy might heap extra pressure on her next season. Others argue it's only adding fuel to her competitive fire, potentially setting the stage for a dominant sophomore year and maybe even an MVP run. But here's what nobody can dispute. Clark's influence is undeniable. WNBA ticket sales are soaring, and television ratings for women's college basketball have never been higher. Even viewers who've never followed the women's game are tuning in just to watch Clark play. The numbers don't lie. Clark isn't merely a player, she's a phenomenon. And she's redefining the landscape of the sport.
I'm just scratching the surface of the things I want to accomplish, and I'm 22. I'm still figuring out life. I'm still figuring out where everything's going to go, and I love basketball, and basketball has brought me so many amazing things, and that will continue to be probably my first passion and everything that I enjoy. And hopefully once basketball ends, I can still find things that I'm really passionate about and can do. Hopefully be an owner of a sports team one day, or open a restaurant. I don't know. Something fun. A little less stressful, maybe. Maybe a coffee shop or something. I don't know.
Clark's impact isn't just about one award or one controversy. It's about the future of the game. While some question the criteria behind her Time Athlete of the Year win, Clark's response, acknowledging the greats who came before her, even Sheryl Swoopes, has been a masterclass in grace and leadership. Instead of firing back, she's elevating the conversation. Her style of play, highlighted by long-range shooting and raw emotion, is inspiring young athletes to pick up a basketball and believe in their own potential. Fans are tuning in like never before, and ticket sales and TV ratings reflect her growing influence. Clark's authenticity off the court, making time for fans and remembering what it's like to be the kid in the crowd, resonates on a personal level. This isn't just about Clark and Swoopes, it's about the entire trajectory of women's basketball. The sport stands at a crossroads, balancing respect for its legends with the rise of new stars who are redefining what's possible. Clark's story is bringing more attention, more debate, and more excitement to the WNBA. She's not merely breaking records, she's reshaping perceptions, inspiring a new generation, and turning the spotlight onto women's basketball like never before. As we watch Clark's journey unfold, it's clear the game is evolving before our eyes. Her rise signals a new era, one in which women's sports command center stage and future players dream even bigger. The sport will never be the same, and that's exactly the point. Caitlin Clark is changing the game, literally. Her ability to drain deep three-pointers, the kind you usually associate with Steph Curry, has redefined the expectations for women's basketball. It's not just about the range, it's her confidence, flair, and ability to consistently perform at a level we've rarely, if ever, seen before. NBA legends and basketball greats are taking notice, and their reactions are a testament to her talent and impact. Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, didn't hold back in his praise. He highlighted how much Caitlin has done for the WNBA and called for better officiating to protect her from unnecessary fouls and hostility. MJ's message was clear: Caitlin is invaluable to the game, and it's time the league treated her accordingly. Steph Curry, often seen as her male counterpart, has been equally impressed. He's pointed out the similarities in their games, not just the lightning-fast release and jaw-dropping range, but also their ability to elevate teammates and put on a show for fans. As Steph said, she's the total package. But Caitlin's rise hasn't come without challenges. From the start, she's faced criticism and even hostility from some WNBA players. NBA legends like Rick Barry and George Gervin have defended her, calling out the jealousy and disrespect. Barry was blunt, saying the hate comes from fear of her undeniable talent. Gervin added that Caitlin's impact goes beyond the court. She's brought private charters, bigger sponsorships, and unprecedented attention to the WNBA. As Barkley put it, you should be thanking that girl. Yet, not everyone is on board. Reggie Miller sees the adversity as part of Caitlin's journey, arguing that every rookie must prove themselves. Kevin Garnett echoed that sentiment, framing the extra defensive attention and hard fouls as a sign of respect. They both believe these challenges will only make her stronger. The controversy around Caitlin reached a new level when she was left off the U.S. Olympic roster. Critics like Paul Pierce argued it was a missed opportunity for the sport, while others, like Dwight Howard, saw it differently. Howard suggested the break might have been a blessing in disguise, giving Caitlin time to recharge and dominate in the second half of the season. Through it all, Caitlin has stayed focused. Her game has grown faster, sharper, and even more electrifying. Legends like Shaquille O'Neal have praised her ability to silence critics with her play. Shaq, in his signature style, summed it up perfectly. If I say you're not gonna hit that shot and you hit it anyway, you're the truth. What's remarkable is how much Caitlin has already done for women's basketball. Magic Johnson, who has an ownership stake in the WNBA, compared her to young stars like Angel Reese, saying players like Caitlin are shaping the league's future. Magic also pointed out that it's not just about Caitlin being the most popular player. It's about her potential to reach the very top, just like he and Larry Bird once did. Even with all the challenges and noise, Caitlin's journey has been nothing short of transformative. She's bringing in fans, raising the league's profile, and proving that women's basketball is a force to be reckoned with. As Charles Barkley said, the WNBA owes her a lot for what she's done for the game. Caitlin Clark is not just a rising star, she's a trailblazer. Her ability to thrive under pressure, elevate the sport, and handle adversity with grace is why basketball legends, fans, and critics alike are rooting for her. Whether it's breaking records or changing perceptions, Caitlin is building a legacy that will be talked about for years to come.
First person I can honestly say that looks like Steph Curry. Like, she's not guardable right now, and she can hit almost any shot from the outside.
Almost any.
How much of a power she is out there on the court. The cool part is the way that she plays and her range and the level of difficulty on her shots is obviously a very close comparison.
From long-range shots to lasting influence, Caitlin Clark isn't just setting records, she's shattering them. Surpassing even Steph Curry's iconic three-point average, she's reshaping the future of basketball. But what happens when Caitlin Clark crosses paths with Steph Curry's legacy?
Do you think Caitlin Clark could beat Steph Curry in a three-point contest?
That's tough. Shooters can have an off night. You just never know. Caitlin has no conscience where she pulls from.
Steph has no conscience where he pulls from.
Been doing it for a long time, so can never go against Steph. Steph has been doing it for a long time.
Recently, Caitlin Clark has solidified her place in basketball history, and it's not just because of her scoring ability, it's where she scores from. New stats show that Caitlin Clark now holds the record for the longest average three-point range, an incredible 28 feet.
think the WNBA narrative right now is Caitlin Clark, and I think that's a good narrative, but it's also not the only narrative. Caitlin is an amazing generational talent, and she's going to do amazing things. You're the #1 pick. People are going to go after.
This remarkable accomplishment not only surpasses the previous record held by NBA legend Steph Curry, but it also sets a new, higher standard for shooting excellence in basketball. By pushing the boundaries of what was once thought possible, Caitlin Clark has redefined the range at which players can score, inspiring future generations to aim even further.
Do I need to call you the female version of Steph Curry, or do I need to call Steph Curry the male version of Caitlin Clark?
I think I'll just be the female version of Steph.
At just 22 years old, Clark's achievement is far more than a statistical outlier. It's a reflection of her unmatched skill, court awareness, and unshakable confidence. As the all-time leading scorer in college basketball, regardless of gender, she has already left an indelible mark on the game. With her new record-breaking 28-foot average, Caitlin Clark has not just added a new statistic to her resume, she's fundamentally redefined what it means to be a sharpshooter in the modern era. To put her accomplishment into perspective, Steph Curry, widely considered the greatest shooter in basketball history, boasts a three-point range averaging around 27 feet. At the time, that seemed untouchable. Curry's range revolutionized the game, sparking an era of deep shooting and permanently changing the way basketball is played. But now, Caitlin Clark has pushed that boundary even further, raising the bar to new heights.
I love me some Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter in the history of basketball.
However, Clark has taken that revolution even further, stretching the boundaries of possibility with an additional foot of range that makes her a constant threat the moment she crosses half court. This is no accident. Clark's shooting range is the result of years of dedicated training, an innate basketball IQ, and an unwavering competitive spirit. Her shooting form is a perfect balance of precision and power, enabling her to effortlessly launch shots from well beyond the arc. But what truly sets her apart is her fearlessness. Clark isn't afraid to take shots from distances most players wouldn't even think about. Whether it's a contested three in the final seconds of a game or a casual pull-up from 30 feet on the fast break, she makes what seems impossible look completely effortless.
Shout out to Caitlin Clark. She's a certified bucket. To quote Shaq, I was not familiar with her game. I respect her game. She's a fucking baller. She was pulling up like Steph Curry from deep. But I just got one question. Matt, do you think you can beat Caitlin Clark in one-on-one?
Absolutely not. Nobody
crazy.
Here can.
I'm busting her ass. You wild. Shit. You wild, bro.
This record also speaks volumes about the evolution of women's basketball. Clark's success stands as a powerful testament to how the game has progressed, with athletes consistently pushing the limits of what's possible on the court. Her remarkable shooting range has drawn comparisons to Curry, but it has also established her as a trailblazer in her own right, showing that women's basketball is just as dynamic, innovative, and game-changing as the men's game.
I think Steph Curry made the WNBA watchable.
Caitlin Clark, baby.
The way that Caitlin Clark was playing was a very digestible form of basketball. But now this girl out of nowhere is playing like Steph, and it was still digestible.
Meanwhile, Clark has reached this milestone in an era where defenders are more focused than ever on limiting long-range threats. Opponents specifically game plan to neutralize her, yet she continues to excel, constantly finding ways to create space and sink one clutch shot after another from deep. Her 28-foot average isn't just a number, it's a declaration of dominance. As Caitlin Clark keeps breaking records and exceeding expectations, the basketball world is left to wonder just how much further she can push the boundaries of shooting.
Is there anybody in the NBA under the age of 30 that's a bigger name, bigger jaw, bigger star than Caitlin Clark?
For now, one thing is clear. Clark has not only surpassed Steph Curry's legendary mark, but has firmly established herself as one of the most transformative figures in basketball. Her 28-foot average three-point range is more than just a record. It's the foundation of a legacy in the making. Caitlin Clark isn't just redefining the game of basketball, she's reshaping its entire business model. The sharpshooting sensation, already celebrated for her historic three-point average that outpaces even Curry, is demonstrating that her influence extends far beyond the court.
I mean, honestly, $1,000 for a family of 4 to go to a WNBA game. That seems wild. It really does. The Clark effect.
Clark now represents an incredible 1/4 of all WNBA merchandise and ticket sales. This remarkable achievement highlights her power to attract fans, drive revenue, and become a true game changer for women's sports. Moreover, in a league that has long battled for visibility and equality, Clark has sparked an unprecedented wave of fan engagement. From jerseys bearing her name to arenas packed with fans chanting in her honor, Clark is more than just a player. She's become a movement.
Caitlin Clark, her style of play it's not just her individually as a person or what skin color she is. I think it's, more so about her style of play, her playing.
According to reports, her merchandise sales alone make up nearly 25% of the WNBA's total revenue in this category, an extraordinary figure that speaks to her unmatched popularity. Whether it's fans buying her iconic number 22 jersey or scooping up exclusive Caitlin Clark-themed collectibles, her appeal is undeniable. The same goes for ticket sales. Clark's games are an event, consistently attracting record-breaking crowds. Did you catch the latest? Ben Shapiro just took down Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson over her ridiculous comments about Caitlin Clark.
So one of the bizarre controversies of the last week is Caitlin Clark, who is the WNBA's only nameable star. Here, for example, is WNBA team owner Sheila Johnson. Here she is, ripping Caitlin Clark and the fan base for liking Caitlin Clark, saying it's only because Caitlin Clark is white.
In what might as well be an Olympic gold medal for bad takes, Sheila's claiming that Clark didn't deserve Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year title, basically suggesting that everyone in the WNBA should be recognized, except for Caitlin Clark.
Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have? Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that. We have got to operate and become stronger as a league and respect everybody that's playing.
You heard that right. This is the ultimate everybody gets a trophy mentality, but cranked up to the max. Shapiro wasted no time shredding Johnson's argument, using his signature rapid-fire style to highlight just how ridiculous her position really is.
You're not putting the entire WNBA on the cover because not everybody can fit and nobody knows who any of those people are. By the way, 31% apparently of the entire Washington Mystics ticket sales this year came in 2 games. I will give you a guess as to which player was featured in those 2 games.
Exactly. Not everyone can fit inside the spotlight, and definitely not the entire WNBA. As for this talk of upliftment, let's not forget that 31% of the Washington Mystics' annual revenue has come from games featuring Caitlin Clark and her team. Are we seriously supposed to pretend Caitlin Clark isn't single-handedly bringing fresh energy to a league that's been struggling to stay relevant?
Look, I'm going to be completely honest about this. I thought what Wizards owner Sheila Johnson said about Caitlin Clark came off as racist. Sheila Johnson is the black billionaire owner of the NHL's Washington Capitals, the NBA's Washington Wizards, and the WNBA's Washington Mystics. Johnson said she did not agree with Time Magazine making Caitlin Clark the first ever WNBA player to be Athlete of the Year.
Sheila's claim that Caitlin Clark's success somehow undermines the rest of the league definitely carries a whiff of something darker. It's hard to ignore how that perspective reeks of racism, whether she intended it or not.
And with putting Caitlin Clark on the cover. Johnson said the entire WNBA should have been chosen as the League of the Year and that numerous stars should have been put on the cover. She said the WNBA has a long legacy of black stars and that, and I quote, something clicked with the WNBA last year because of the draft. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's Reese. As in, of course, Chicago's Angel Reese.
Seriously? Angel Reese doesn't even come close to Caitlin Clark, both in skill and popularity. So why is Sheila so eager to downplay Clark's accomplishments? It's almost like she's trying to diminish something that clearly stands out on its own.
Johnson said, and I quote, there's so much talent out there that's unrecognized, and I don't think we can pin it on just one player. When you single out one, it creates hard feelings, end of quote. Johnson said, what's been happening to black players on social media, and I quote, has got to stop, in that, and I quote again, this division of racism is going to tear us apart, end quote.
Exactly. Are we seriously going to stop celebrating a player just because others are feeling threatened or jealous? That doesn't sit right, does it? This is straight up unfair treatment. Sheila should be recognizing greatness, not trying to undermine it.
Johnson is saying to me, the majority of WNBA players are black and have always been black, that basketball belongs more to black players than to white, and that it's not healthy for the league to have a white player featured as Athlete of the Year on the cover of Time. Now, I'm pretty sure if WNBA MVP Asia Wilson had made the cover of Time as Athlete of the Year, Johnson wouldn't have had any problem with that. Just not the white girl.
Absolutely. What Sheila's implying is that we should start picking and choosing who gets praise based on the color of their skin, rather than their talent or achievements. It's absurd on so many levels, and frankly, it's a huge disservice to the game and the players who deserve recognition.
But this person put this on as a quote to this video. Sheila Johnson's worth $850 million, and she doesn't put a penny back into the neighborhood she comes from. Very interesting. She doesn't even come back to her high school to show little black girls that they can become her. My little cousins go to the same high school. They don't even know she exists. Very interesting indeed.
Did you catch that? It turns out Sheila might be guilty of the very thing she's accusing Caitlin Clark of. That's right. She supposedly doesn't do charity or encourage the black kids in her community to become billionaires like herself. Talk about hypocrisy at its finest, folks.
Well, the league has always been woke, has always had an agenda. The league and the sports media, the establishment sports media that is, and their surrogates. Always. And they pride themselves on that.
It's become pretty clear that the WNBA has a lot of politics playing out behind the scenes. Could this be what's been holding the league back all these years? It's hard not to wonder if these power struggles and biases are part of the reason the league hasn't reached the level of recognition and success it deserves.
Well, since Caitlin Clark stepped into the waters with the Time magazine interview, it's almost like you're gonna see more people, more comments, more demands. You're going to see, it's going to be less and less about basketball, what you want to see. And it's going to be a whole lot of this stuff because it's like she ripped off another layer of the onion. And this one is a big one. And so now people feel like they can just go all in.
Exactly. Sheila's opposition to Caitlin Clark seems rooted in the fact that, like many so-called woke figures, she's recognized that Clark isn't playing by the usual political playbook. Instead of bending to certain narratives or pushing an agenda, Clark is simply focused on earning her success through talent. And that's something that doesn't sit well with people who expect athletes to follow their scripted roles.
But this, of course, is the Mystics owner that said that Caitlin Clark should give up her Time magazine award and give it to the entire WNBA. Of course, that has now become a running joke, and the mother of all community checks came down here and nailed her. 31% of Mystics' total home attendance for the 2024 season came from the 2 games versus Caitlin Clark in the Fever.
Newsflash, Sheila, sports thrive on competition, not on the equality of outcome. Claiming that Caitlin Clark doesn't deserve to be singled out is like saying LeBron James should share his accolades with the benchwarmers just because of team effort. That's not how greatness works. Individual brilliance deserves recognition, and Clark has earned every bit of it.
It's important that we say, you know what? You want to go all in? You want to go in, people with a lot of nonsense? Then guess what? We're going to go in too, and we're going to expose the nonsense.
Exactly. A lot of these racist attitudes flourish when there's no pushback or challenge. That's why speaking out isn't just an option, it's a responsibility. If we stay silent, we're allowing these harmful views to persist unchecked. It's crucial to stand up and call out hypocrisy when we see it.
What it is. A lot of times, like you, we just want to let's just play basketball. But then when they start saying nonsense, like when the owner of a WNBA team, Sheila Johnson, Washington Mystics, when she says some of the stuff like she said that people are talking about today, it's like, okay, you want to play hardball? Then let's play.
Absolutely. Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's a mythical juggernaut and a cultural icon. She's rewriting the rules of the game, and her numbers prove it. She's not just good, she's the best. And anyone who tries to deny that is ignoring the undeniable facts.